just want to, first off, we got to talk about the big thing that happened. I just want to say thank you for all those who supported and came out to AX's City Pop Homecoming. It was one of the greatest events I ever took part of. Being a DJ on the stage and just seeing the crowd out there, just having a great time out in the public and inside the theater, just enjoying City Pop. Mari Ejima performed. It was an amazing, probably one of the best sets I think I've ever seen her perform. She's always great. But that night, she was just on fire with her performance and the songs that she picked and everything. So I just want to say thank you for coming out to AX's City Pop Homecoming. It was a night I'll never forget. And thank you for supporting us. We appreciate it. And I also want to thank Greg Hegnight. I also want to thank Marcus and Jovan Curry for helping us out and getting everything going behind the stage, backstage, and also on the stage, with just kind of announcing it and kind of just making the night flow through pretty quick. But it was a night. It was 2,300 people plus, and there was it was a sold out event. 2 days before the event happened, it was sold out. So it was amazing. Thank you again, and again, it's a night that I'm never going to forget DJing for you all. So if you want more, of course, we have Plastic City coming up on July 30th this month. It's going to be me and of course Dave Tata, who is also the other DJ. Forgot to mention his name earlier, but yeah, Dave Tata is going to be playing, as well as Greg Hignight and myself. And then also on at the Union Corona, we're also going to be doing Show Adrift. That's going to be the 19th, Friday the 19th, next month in August. So come on out. That one's more of a chill event. Have a beer. Just have a good time hanging out with friends, listening to some great tracks DJ'd by myself, Marcus, and Jovan. So anyway, about a month ago, I got this package, but I was so busy with just getting all the bunch of stuff ready for the anime homecoming and everything, some other events, that I didn't get a chance to talk about this latest group of albums I got from Japan. So it's a little bit late than ever, but here they are. So all right, this is the first one. This is Tomoko Ogawa's. This is her 1969 album, Anita to Ikiru. She was kind of like, before they kind of used the word idol for Japanese artists, she would have been an idol. She's an idol Kayo, basically, but from the 60s. It was her and Chiyo Nakamura and Jun Mayuzumi were like the three main singers for Toshiba at the time. Jun Mayuzumi was on Capitol, but it was a Toshiba company in Japan. So this is her, I think this is her second album. Very beautiful woman. I really kind of neglected collecting her albums, just because I just there's other artists to collect, but I thought it was time to go down this the road with her records. They're not really rock or anything, just your typical Kayo from that time period, with an orchestra and singing and maybe a band in the back, a rock band in one or two songs. But yeah, she's very beautiful. She was a model, an actress, did a lot of advertisements and stuff. And if you look at her 45s, you go to Discogs and look at her 45s. I mean, it looks like it's like 10 singles look like 10 different women, because she just redoes herself on each single. Her makeup, her hair, her style, she was very mod. You can kind of tell with this cover. So really happy to have this one after it came out in 69. So good 50, 60 plus years, and it still has the Obi on it. It's pressed on the Toshiba red vinyl. So, but yeah, she's cool. I really like her. I think she's a really cool artist. So if you haven't checked her out, listen to it. You'll really like her vibe. She has a really cool vibe. All right, second artist we have here is Naomi Kawashima. I've been collecting her albums. She did about 7 albums, and I'm just slowly getting each one. She's really cool, and I really respect her a lot. She was more of a model, and she did these albums, and she wrote the lyrics on her albums because none of the credits were on her albums, so I started inputting her credits. And she always writes about 2 or 3 songs on each album. She has a really nice voice. Just incredible. This is the second to her last album, and this one right here is her last album right here. It's a little bit harder to find than the other. It's not too difficult. I didn't pay much for it, but its frequency of being able to pick it up doesn't come up that often. I always kind of hear that people say that like idols were kind of based off of Motown and like kind of the girl groups in America, and all the research, and especially me owning a lot of records from the 60s. it was the whole idol came from France, from the Yeye movement in France. And if you notice on this album, which is kind of getting a 60s feel, she has a sequin dress. If you notice, it has Paris right here. There's a picture of Paris. So it's actually kind of a throwback to more of the Yeye music, not what was going on in America at the time in the 60s. Soul music wasn't really seen as soul music in Japan at the time. It was more of pop music. That's kind of way that they presented it when it was in Japan. Akiko Wada is really the first artist I know of where it actually says R&B soul on her 7-inch in 1969. So she's really kind of considered the first soul artist. But coming back to Naomi Kawashima, even with trying to do like a 60s feel, they still probably have to put like the Eiffel Tower on it to kind of say, hey, this is from France. So that's just the way it's on. But this is her last album. If you see it, pick it up. It's really nice. She has a song that she sings in with an acoustic guitar. It's very beautiful. So unfortunately, she passed away, I think, in 2014 of cancer. So she has a great legacy. She's definitely worth seeking out. So, all right. So the next lady here is Yumi Takagawa. She's an actress. She did about 5 or 6 albums as well. This is kind of towards the end. I only needed was a live album, and I picked it up, but it's in my next group of records. I highly suggest 2 albums by her. Her first album and this album. This one has a nice city pop, kind of like a real moody kind of sound for her. I really like her a lot. She has a great voice, and it's a catalog worth seeking out. And she only did 5 or 6 albums, and this is one of them right here. And this is actually didn't come in the package. I actually got this from Discogs, but this is a very kind of difficult to find last album that she did. It's a little beat up, has some mold on it, but it's not easy to find, and it does sell for a good $30-40 when you do. I just wanted to show you guys, if you guys see this album, pick it up. Even if you don't like it, you can always flip it, because it's not an easy album to find. So all right, so it's gonna get a little controversial here, okay? This is, of course, Kondo Matchy Masahiko. I'm interested. I'm curious about who did his records, because none of his albums have credits on Discogs. And I know there's some, him being on RCA at the time, he did have some rather famous people writing his records, but his records aren't really that good. And it's like, I'm always curious, like, did they give him like their worst songs, or did they write to his style, which just tends to be a style I don't like. And I'm the biggest Akina fan. Trust me, I say don't denigrate the artist. This is about the only artist I know, even in all my music, that this guy is just not the greatest guy. He's not he's done some pretty bad stuff through his life. So, but I'm curious. He was the biggest male singer at the time in Japan, and I really wanted to learn more about how his records were put together. Less him, more of who was behind him to do these records. He had Kohei Susumi, of course, writing a lot of his music. Tatsuro wrote some songs for him, and Makoto Shida also wrote a lot of songs for him. So he had some of those city pop guys behind him writing music and stuff. This is a lot of about 7 or 8 records. I got it for like 600 yen, so like $6. So it wasn't going to kill me. But it's nice finally figuring out like who wrote his music and what he was about when it came to the production of his records. So this is his first record. This is his second one right here. This is about the only one that I feel is a good album straight through. It has a more of a nice, not rock song, but it just has just nice funky music. It's a very kind of funky album. He does a cover of Blue Light Yokohama, which is really cool. If you're gonna just buy one album by him that you can find yourself DJing, this is probably it right here. Because none of the other albums really appeal to me. They always have like one really good song, and then the rest of the album is just filler. So it's all filler. So this is a second album. If you're gonna get a second album by him, this is probably his most city pop album. There's a really cool song. There's quite a few good songs on this album. So I suggest this one and this album as being albums if you want to hear at least the better sound of his music. I would suggest this one right here. This right here is a soundtrack to a movie that we originally started with 2 other singers, and they did movies together. They had a certain name of the trio. And actually, that album is their first and only album as that trio was released on Air Records. That's why that's that one weird album that's on Air Records that was released. This is a soundtrack. It's actually from a movie that was remade from the 1960s. I think he was even remade in the 70s. But he plays a drummer in a band starring the two other guys, and it's just all the drama of him being a drummer. So it's okay. It's not terribly great like most of these albums. I haven't heard this one yet, so this is just I'm just gonna go by with these because I just haven't had a chance to listen to these. This is Shining, and this one actually has a Tatsuya Yamashita song on it. Haven't had a chance to listen to it yet. So and then this is a best of right here. I'm down to like 3 more albums I need to get by him, so I just want to grab those 3 and just kind of make a straight through about his career, and just trying to understand, just curious about like who made his records, and so it was more of just wanting to learn something. So I kind of, even when I don't like him, there's things I still want to talk about, like know what he's about, regardless when it comes to his music, as opposed to him as a person. So, all right, so this is actually what Matchy wanted to be, is this guy right here. This guy is really cool. I've been making a VAP run, so I'm getting all these kind of unusual VAP records, and this is Junya Takagi. He was a martial arts expert, actor, singer. He became a politician. He was a worldwide journalist. He just did a lot of cool stuff. He's a really cool guy, and he was actually part of a trio as well. And if you find their video online, it's like they didn't introduce them. They run out of a second-story building and do a flip in the air and land. And all 3 members do that, and then they go to the microphones and start singing. So it's crazy. He's a really, real good-looking guy, and you watch his video on a concert online, and all the girls are going nuts over this guy. But he's really cool. I like him. He's on VAP. He's legit. Young guy, but at the time, but he ended up having a great career being a politician and being a journalist. So this album, there's one song in that concert I really liked, and I really wanted to find that album, but I couldn't figure out what song it was, so I just bought all his records because I was going to buy them anyway. They're on VAP. So it actually ended up being on the second album, which is called Ride On right here. So there's Right On Time, and then there's Ride On by Junya, number 2. So this is his second album. It has a really cool like city pop disco song on it. That's amazing. And the rest of the album, it's okay. There's a couple of good songs on it, but the music is typical male idol from the 80s, and I'm just not a big fan of that rock sound, especially from male idols at the time. But it is on VAP Records, so it's something I definitely wanted to pick up and find out about. So, all right, so we're going back, and this is actually the first album on VAP Records that was on the 3000 number, which is this number. This is record 3001, and so this was the first album ever put out on VAP that would later on have Momomo Kikuchi, Omega Tribe, just all those artists. This is actually the first album of the run, and it's very interesting because first who he is. This guy's Nico Ramsden. He's from a band called Boys Don't Cry, an English band. And their famous song is "Do You Want to Be a Cowboy?" I know everybody's heard it before, but he was a guitar player in the band. Now, what's interesting about this album is that it's VAP had another catalog number for their foreign music, which was actually like The Cure, punk, British punk rock and stuff. And what's interesting is that this album was not on that. It was actually on the Japanese side. So this is a Japanese album. It was never made for the English or American or Western market. It was only released in Japan. And this was the beginning of that album run. And it's produced by a Japanese producer. I forgot to write it down, but so the whole album is very is a Japanese album, even though it has a Western singer on it, Nico. But what was cool about this one was that it came with a lot of extras, and the best extra that it actually came with is his sign card where he signed to Akiko, and this is an original one. And it's original VAP, and I did a guitar on it. But the record actually comes with like all this great like promo material, like booklets and stuff. So it being the first record on VAP, they really wanted to push like this catalog number series. And I think that's, even though it's missing the Obi, this is the reason why I bought it, is because it just came with all the cool, like, all these inserts, like just to VAP to really push this artist. He only did this one album. This is the only solo album that he ever did. He did 2 singles on VAP. As far as I know, he hasn't done anything else. I would love to locate him and interview him about this era of VAP records. So it's okay. It's very English, of music that was going on at that time. If you're curious, pick it up. You might like it. It might go with what you like, but it is a very interesting artifact from VAP. Instead of it being on the foreign catalog number, it's actually on the Japanese one, and this is the Japanese album. So, all right. So more VAP. This is actually Jonny Yoshinaga. He is the drummer. He played in a lot of groups at the time. His really big connection is with Char, the guitar player. He actually co-produced the record. Really, really, really cool album. I mean, it's amazing from beginning to end. It's kind of like the first 2 years of VAP albums, and their music was more of a rock sound. And it isn't until like 1983 rolls around when they start doing Omega Tribe, and the sound shifts over to like the city pop sound. But so this is more of the earlier VAP sound, but it's a nice crossover, kind of has some city pop feel to it, but generally it's just a really cool like rock album. If you haven't picked up this album, pick it up. It's on VAP. You can't go wrong with it. So, all right. So one more VAP is this one right here. This is Circus, of course. The Close Harmony band. Really the best connection to them is they're kind of like Hi-Fi Set. There was a 4-member group. They did Close Harmonies. This album was released on VAP. It's pretty cool. One side is kind of more rock, but the B side is kind of more of their traditional sound. So I'm still trying to get their catalog and still kind of find what their sound is and stuff. But they're really cool. I've always liked Circus for many years. So anyway, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to this is Ken Takahashi. Ken is one of the songwriters for Adianko Club. And not just that, he wrote Yoko Ogami. He did a lot of idol work, did a lot of songs for, I can't think of the name of the group. I'll probably put it at the bottom when I remember it. But so this is his actually debut album. It's on F label. And it's more of a rock sound and stuff. He self-produced it. Really talented guy. This has more of a 70s sound to it, a 70s rock sound to it. So it's not really kind of up my alley, but it is a hard record to find. It's really hard to find one with the Obi on it, because they didn't sell many of them. He didn't really become a big artist as a solo artist. He became big writing songs for other bands. So he's just kind of one of those songwriters where his sound is actually very different from the sound that he did for other people. But the Yanko Club, he wrote all their best songs. Like, all the songs that he wrote for Yanko Club, they're all amazing. They're the most funkiest songs. So it's kind of cool to finally get this LP right here. So, all right. So I'm also actually kind of winding down with Junko Hashi. This one's kind of a little bit been difficult for me to find. It's just doesn't pop up as much. Not that it's expensive. It's just its frequency just doesn't pop up as much as the other ones. I'm kind of down to like 2 more albums by her, so I'm pretty close to being done with her collection. So I haven't had a chance to listen to it, but yeah, if you see it for a good price, pick it up. Especially if you want to start collecting her, because it's just not an easier one to find. That's why it's kind of one of the last ones I got. So, all right. We're gonna jump over to some. Group sounds here. Again, group sounds is GS era, which is the late 60s rock, fuzz, garage sound that the Japanese groups were doing at the time, being influenced by the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and a lot of those kind of beat groups at the time. So again, I think if you see my other videos, I've been trying to collect all the Terry Takarushi and the Bunnies. I've been trying to collect all their albums. Very hard to find with all the original stuff on it. Again, this album came out in 1968, so it's been a long time, but it still has the Obi on it. I'm not a big fan of live albums. This is a great live album. It's phenomenal. I mean, they were just a really, really great. I call them straight out rock because they're just so hard for their time. Beyond most indie bands in Japan and maybe even the world, they're just a very hard band. And one side is more of the Bunny side, and the B side is more of the Terry side of his guitar playing and stuff. So, and I bought it in a lot. So this is actually, I think this is Terry's first solo album. And I've been trying to buy, it came in a lot. I had this album already, but it was missing the Obi, so it was nice to have a more complete one. And it's just a mixture of instrumental music and he has the Bunnies on it, and a couple other bands, but basically that's pretty much what it is. It's just his first solo album that he did. He did over something like 150, 200 albums. He has a lot of music, so if you ever go down the road of Terry, just keep in mind it's gonna be a lifelong endeavor, because there's just so much music that he did. He did so much music. So, all right. So, and then this is the other band. This is the original band that he was in. Terry. It was the Blue Jeans. He was in the Blue Jeans up to like 1966. They had us falling out, and then he met up with the Bunnies, did the Bunnies through 1970, and then he had a falling out with them, and then went back with the Blue Jeans. And so this is a best of Blue Jeans compilation. It's cool. It has the cool Vox Continental on it. You can't go wrong with that thing. And then that's the band that he was with until he passed away a couple of years ago. But yeah, it's really, really cool. Really cool album here. So, all right, so we're moving over into, I've been trying to fill out those gaps with Ann Lewis. I'm starting to endeavor into her earlier records before she met Tatsuro and Maria and like all the songwriters that wrote music for her, Yumin and everything. She was more of a Kayo artist from 1971 to about 1974, 75, and then she meets up with them. But I've always assumed these records, because I've never heard them before, that they were kind of just basic Kayo music. No, she rocks. She rocks on this album, and she does a really cool version of Do the Locomotion, and it's this killer glam version of like Locomotion. Even if the name of this album is called Honeymoon in Hawaii, so I thought it was just going to be like a cover of like Hawaiian songs or something, just very typical of just a singer like that. But no, she has her big voice. She rocks through the whole album. I'm reevaluating her earlier career now that I'm starting to hear some of these earlier albums by her, and she's amazing. I love all her music. And rock again, her late mid 80s stuff, rock stuff. I'm not a big fan of Japanese rock, of course, but again, overall, I appreciate her. She's like Akina. Like every album that she did is always trying to do something different, trying to get a different sound, get a different feel, and I'm appreciating her so much. Especially now I'm getting into her early albums. So if you see this album, pick it up. You'll enjoy it. You really would. It's a good album. Her version of Locomotion is like amazing. It's hard. It's great. So, all right. So we're also coming down to another Ann Lewis one I was missing. I was filling in a gap. Of course, Pink Pussycats is the album that Tatsuya Yamashita produced for her. It's a phenomenal album. I know a lot of people are kind of a little hesitant with Ann Lewis, but you got to just take the dive. And if you're going to take a dive and you want to buy just one album, buy this album right here. It's just great from beginning to end. The funny part is that when I bought it, I guess the guy you couldn't see it in the picture, but it had it looks like a rat ate out of the side of it. This is actually the pink vinyl version too, so that's why I paid a little bit more for it. And the guy was like totally sorry that I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was damaged. He actually sent me a bunch of like $8 of stamps of postage stamps to like make up for like spending the money on it and then it having damage. But I find it ironic that it has rats chewed out of it and it's called Pink Pussycats. So it kind of, in many ways, it kind of adds to the album. I think it's kind of funny. But yeah, if you don't have this album and you feel hesitant about buying Ann Lewis, buy this album. You'll love it. It's a masterpiece. Tatsuro just did an amazing job on this album. Ann Lewis is a great singer, and it's incredible. It's a must-own album. So, all right, you're getting down to the last 5 or 6 here. This is Hiroyuki Namba. This is his first album. This is actually a reissue from it. The first issue of this was on 7 Seas. This is on Actual King. It's kind of hard to find his first album with an OB and just kind of clean. And I just kind of broke down and bought this one, and I got it for like 500 yen, which is a really good price. But then after I bought it, like a bunch of his original copies popped up. So I was like, so I still needed to get an original one, but this is great. This actually has, of course, the cover of Door into Summer, that Tatsuya Yamashita song, before he re-recorded it for himself For You. This was actually the original version that he wrote for Namba. And then Sense of Wonder ended up being the name of his band that he recorded his album. So I'm not sure if this is like a double, like this is the name of the album, or is it just Hiroka Namba with Sense of Wonder? It's kind of confusing. I haven't really kind of figured it out yet. So And also down to the last few, some Air records. Again, the 85 series that I've been collecting. This is another Haruki Namba record. I'm not a big fan of this one. It's a little bit too prog for me, but there's one really good song on it. But that's kind of turned me off about him, because this was the first album I heard, and I just wasn't a fan. But when I heard the other ones, I liked. But I'm still not a big fan of this album, but it does have a good song on it. And it was actually reissued under the 88 Rail 88 series. So the 88 one actually is harder to find than 85, and this one's actually really hard to find. It took me a while, a few months for one to pop up to buy. So really happy I have it. Not my favorite album, but I'm just glad I finally have my hands on one. So, and then here's another Hiroyuki Namba record. I think I'm getting pretty close to getting all his Air Records albums. I think this might be the last one. I know there's a Sense of Wonder record that I need to pick up. So, all right. So another Air Records. This is Haruyuki Mizuguchi. This is the second album, Ing, and I like this album much more than the first one. This one has more of an Air Records feel to it. He's more rockabilly, like revival 70s sound, and in many ways, he really doesn't fit on Air Records. His sound is just doesn't fit with the rest of the label at the time. But it's a better album. The A side's more of like a rock and roll, like a throwback, and then the B side's kind of more ballads, but they're really cool, like just real cool like songs on it. And I'm a much bigger fan of this album. If you're gonna buy one of the two albums by Air Records, I suggest picking up this one. I think you'll enjoy it a little bit better than the other one. I also love that cover. I mean, that's an amazing cover. I mean, the knife, the way it's photographed, the way, with the tuxedo and the bloody fingers, and it's cool. He's a cool guy. I mean, I'm not going to take that away from him. I'm not a fan of his music, but he is a cool guy, and the image that he created for himself for these records. So, that's it's pretty cool. All right, so we're getting down to about 3 or 4 more here. This is, of course, Masahiro Kawana. I've been buying all the 12 inches on Air Records. Getting down to the last couple that I need. This was one of them. This is actually more for Roppongi Noise. This is has a couple of songs from that, and then it has a 12-inch. So I think For All Your Heart, I think is new for the 12-inch. Really cool cover. It's kind of cool that he has a 12-inch, because he really didn't do many of that. The 12-inch format wasn't really a big format in Japan. And that's why you don't see a lot of those records. That's why Plastic Love didn't sell. It wasn't that it was a bad song. It was because the 12-inch format is not a format that was popular in Japan until it moved into the 90s. So this is one of those 12 inches from Air Records that I'm going to get. All right. Oh, I got to straighten that up. All right. So this is an interesting one. I'm sure you guys seen this album and just curious probably. I don't know if any of you guys have one, but this is the Hamlet rock musical with Hiromi Iwasaki and Kawana and Masahiro, and it popped up for a good price. It's a double album, and this thing is phenomenal. And I had Jovan and Marcus and Greg at my house, and I had never listened to it. They have never heard it, and they were just curious as much as me. We threw it on. It's an amazing album. It's a live album, but it's really beautifully done. What's interesting is the people who wrote the songs on it and how it's spaced out. So side 1 and side 4 is basically written by Kohei Sasumi, the famous songwriter. Side B is written all by Kingo Hamada, like he wrote the one side. And then there's a mix of other, and then I forgot what the mix is, but actually Tatsuro Yamashita has 2 songs on this album. So it's like this really great mix of like songwriters that it's like, okay, Kingo, you need to write one side of this album, and Kohei, you need to write one full album, and Tatsuro, you need to write a couple of hits for this record. And it's amazing. So she's singing Hiromi, that you guys, everybody loves her. She's singing Tatsuro songs, and it's mind blowing. It's so good. And if you've been curious about this album, pick it up. It's a different experience for both of them. For you as a listener, pick it up, and you can find it for about 1,000, maybe 2,000 yen at the most. I got really lucky and got this one for 500 yen. So, I speak very highly of this album, and if you don't have it, pick it up. You'll like it. Again, it's sung. It's like a musical, so the parts are sung through the album, and and you know, your typical singing voices you hear and stuff. I need to finish putting in the credits and Discog, but anyway, buy it, you'll love it. All right, and speaking of Kingo Hamada, I'm getting closure with his catalog. I just need his 2 last albums. This is the second one on Moon Records. Really cool album. You can't go wrong with him. He's a great guy. If he's on Facebook, if you haven't added him, add him. He's just a wonderful person. So and just really cares about his fans, and just a real heartfelt person. So yeah, I just need the last 2 albums, which is, I think, I forgot, on Victus, or Boardwalk. I can't remember what label it is, but all right. So we're down to the last 2. This was kind of the one that made me buy it. This is an original copy of Taeko Ohnuki. It did get reissued, you know, last month or 2 months ago, but it was like $50. But I knew this thing was an original was like 70 or 80, so I decided to just, you know, I'm just gonna buy an original if they're out there. Found a really clean one for Buy It Now. It wasn't that expensive. You can tell the originals by the price. It'll say 2,300 yen. It's been reissued multiple times, just like Summer Shower. So you really got to look at the album, make sure you're not getting a reissue from the 90s or the 80s. So just be real cautious, especially that it's white. This is a really clean version of this album, because without no mold on it. It's really crisp. So I'm really happy I got her debut album on vinyl. So the last album is I always save the last one, my big buy, the big one I've been waiting for. And that is this one right here, Summer Shower. I've been wanting an original copy of this for a long time. It kind of got me a little angry, because I originally bought a reissue on Light in the Attic. I ordered it. I said, you know what, I'll just buy the order. It was $80. You know, and it was a double album, 45. I'm not a big fan of that format for albums. I want to hear them in the original format of how the original done. So what I ended up doing was I ordered it, and about a month later, I still hadn't received the record. I was like, where's my record at? So I emailed them, I text messaged them, and they're, well, we ran out of copies. We did the inventory wrong, but we're going to get more. And you know, these things don't come. It took 2 years for the second one to pop up, the reissue that just came out a couple months ago. And it just got me so angry. And I'm like, you know what? I really don't want like the double disc 45 thing. I want an original copy, first issue that came out when it came out, you know, 2,300 yen, not a reissue. I might as well, if I'm going to pay that much, I might as well just pay $100 more and get an original one. And that's exactly what I did. And I'm glad I did, because it's in really good, clean shape. Some real light surface stuff. I've taken it out of the sleeve, but otherwise, it's in beautiful shape, beautiful condition. I'm so happy I have this album. It's actually one of my favorite, like 70s, 80s, you know, city pop albums. It's amazing. It's beautiful. She's such a unique artist, and I don't need to praise this album, because you guys all know, you guys all love this album as well. So yeah, that's it. I'm really happy to finally got an original copy of Sun Shower. So again, thank you for coming out to AX for the anime City Pop Homecoming. And like I said, it means a lot to us, you know, that the event sold out, that you showed up, had a good time. Everybody had a good time. I know I was there. I went to the floor and saw everybody dancing, doing backdrops, and just having a good time. So it's a memory I'll never forget. And so thank you for being a part of that and making it happen. So from all of our hearts from Plastic City, thank you so much. And again, we have on the 30th July at the Lash, we have Plastic City, and at Show Adrift in Corona at the Union Barbershop Beer Lodge. That will be August 19th at after 8:30, 9 o'clock. Come out and have a pint. So once again, thank you. I wish I could have gone on this early, but as you saw, I've just been real busy. I might have a package next month. I'm thinking I'm going to hold off for a couple months. I have been buying some stuff, been buying a lot of VAP. I just been really just enjoying that label. A lot of gems on that, buried in that label. So I've been trying to dig them out. So anyway, thank you again. I appreciate all your help and all your, and just enjoying the music and everything. So I'll see you guys soon, and take care. Thank you.